What's good about smartphone fanaticism? Not much. How much beauty will it take for you to forget about specs? We'll see. And what the hell is OnePlus thinking? Again. All that and much more on an ill-advised sojourn beyond our depth on episode 109 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week podcast where we discuss news and opinion from the world of mobile technology, from smartphones to tablets to wearables, all the stuff you wished existed when you were a kid. From Boston, Massachusetts, where the winter is already upon us because New England, I'm your host, Michael Fisher. I'm joined today by the soft-spoken yet hard-hitting newsman, Stephen Schenk. Greetings to you in New Jersey.
Hey, it's perfectly lovely down here. I don't know what's going on up in New England, but
and
it's summer.
By a dude whose internet is always broken. No, wait, that's two guys. The basement dweller Taylor Martin is giving attendance another go this week from North Carolina. Welcome aboard, friend.
I'm just kidding. How are you guys?
And from his secret ranch in Utah, Mr. Privacy himself, Joe Levi, the Android guy, is here. Hi, Joe.
Hey, how you doing? It's monsoon season
in
Utah.
Be careful. Just some business to get out of the way before we start, folks. The sponsor of the Pocketnow Weekly is SwapUp, which is a marketplace for gently used Android phones, tablets, and wearables. Yes, we did mention wearables, and certainly Google Glass fits under that umbrella. Bet you weren't expecting this. Many are curious about Glass but don't want to pay the $1,500 price of entry. So if you want to get a gently used Glass at a discount, head on over to a URL I'm sure you'll remember on first speech, swappa.com/buy/Google-Glass. We'll drop the link for you in the description, not to worry. You might just find yourself wearing Glass before you know it.
Just don't be a glass hole.
Good times. Just don't be a glass hole. Good advice from Taylor Martin. I'm interested in hearing how you fellas are, what's new, what's shaking. But first I want to throw it to Stephen for some announcements, including a teaser that is not on the rundown. Am I right, Stephen?
That's right, sir. Ding, ding, ding.
Yay!
Those of you who have been following the podcast for the past few weeks now have heard about us talking about all the giveaways we've been doing here. This has been Pocketnow's summer of giveaways. We've had phones, we've had invites, we've had phones and accessories. It's been a lot of fun, and we've given away a lot of great stuff. Except this week, we haven't had anything to give away. We were hoping to have something new to bring to you on Wednesday. Kind of pushed it back a little. So instead, next week, on Monday, we're going to announce our next super special giveaway. This time, a very important phone to a lot of people out there, the Blackphone privacy-centric Android fork. We're going to be talking about that phone a lot in the program today, but check back on Monday for details of exactly what we're giving away, how you can enter, and all that good stuff. So, great way to start the week. Have a new prize for you. Should be fun.
That is a good point, Stephen. Also, speaking of the Blackphone, our Blackphone review is up, so you can check that out here at Pocketnow. Joe Levi and Adam Lane both contributed to that review, and we're going to hear a bit more about Blackphone later in the show because this is obviously one of the big topics of today's program, how it fares against the BlackBerry. And this is something that the internet has been exploding about this week. So we're going to hear from the security expert himself on what's true, what's not, and what everybody needs to settle down about.
Simmer down now.
Simmer down.
Simmer down now.
BlackBerry review. If you want to see what we think about it on the whole, I still have one right here. Our GSM Nation unit is going to go out tomorrow to its next reviewer.
Yeah, how did you get to keep that so long and I had to send mine back so early?
Because I had to write the whole review, Joe.
I had to do an article about 10 ways it keeps you safe.
I know, and it was a good article, too. I recommend you check it out. By the way, Q&A, folks. If you're watching the show live, you can submit Q&As using the Q&A app. It's not the YouTube comment thread. It's not Twitter. It's not anything else. It is the Q&A app in Google Hangouts. So use that to submit some stuff. And I want to say, John Landon, you're very nice because you're helping us segue into the next announcement. Hey, just wanted to give a shout-out to Taylor, who got his Xiaomi Mi 4 review/comparison mentioned in an article on Business Insider.
Oh, nice. I missed that.
I didn't know we were in the presence of a celebrity, folks. Taylor.
Where's... can I get a link? Anyone? I don't think I've ever been linked before.
I was going to say find it on the internet, but probably don't strain your connection, brother. We don't want to, we'll find it after the
The donkey out back don't walk any faster. So.
Get the hamster on the wheel moving, brother. What else is up? It's not just our Blackphone review that's up. Our Galaxy K Zoom review is up. Tony found many of the same problems with it as we found with the S4 Zoom, but he likes it a lot better, it seems. So check that out. And Taylor, while we're talking about this Mi 4, this is kind of our only opportunity in the show to hear about your thoughts on it. This thing apparently looks like a Lumia icon, and that's good, but it runs some software that maybe you don't like so much.
Yeah, I've been using MIUI for years, off and on, and I was really, really excited about it. I remember the first time I loaded it on an Android phone, I believe it was either the MyTouch 4G or I think that was actually it, the MyTouch 4G. So it's been a while, but I've used it off and on ever since, and it's unusual because it doesn't have an application drawer, and this version, this is the Chinese version, it does not come with Google Play services pre-installed. Everything is centered around the Mi market, which is Xiaomi's own market, kind of like Samsung store and Sony store and all that. So everything is centered around the Mi market, but you can install Google Play services unofficially in about a minute or two, just by downloading an app in the Mi store. So there are ways around it, and I've had to do that because I honestly don't think I could fairly compare some phones without having some actual applications. Like, I can't download apps from the Mi store because they're all in Chinese. So Evernote is Evernote in Chinese. Like, I can't download apps because I can't type to get them. So I had to do something to be able to actually install some apps on the phone. But it's just odd. I like it. I like the ability to change pretty much every aspect of your interface. But
Steven and I both enjoyed the Axel cameo in the background there. Taylor's dog just came into the frame, ladies and gents, and it is a beaut.
It's good. He gets in there because I'm standing up, so the camera is angled down at the floor.
Oh, there you go. So when can we expect a review on the old Mi 4 here, brother?
Tuesday or Wednesday next week is when it's scheduled to go live.
Yeah, people have been asking for this quite a bit, and also I want to mention that comes to us from 28 Mobile, who we might have forgotten to mention on a video this week, so I want to give them an extra special shout out. 28mobile.com, good times.
Yeah, I had a very rude awakening on Tuesday morning.
No,
I was not. No, I wasn't having the best morning that day. And finally, we went Zoe bombing with HTC's new Zoe beta app. Brad Mullen at Engadget would like me to stop trying to make Zoe bombing a thing, but
I was
just
going to say that very sentiment.
And it's going to happen. Okay, I'm going to Zoe bomb people until it becomes a thing. And you guys are welcome to join me. You can download your HTC Zoe app even if you don't have an HTC phone, as long as you're running Android 4.4 or above. And it's a really good time. It's like porting one of the coolest HTC features to non-HTC phones, which some people see as foolish, but others see it as HTC branching out into a software and services kind of thing. I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
Well,
Anybody
this is the
can
one
opine.
that I helped you out with the ADB on the Mac. Is that the secret project that you couldn't tell me about?
Oh, yes, it was. That's right.
Terminal, man, that's scary.
Yeah, I had to spend some time in Terminal because that is the only way we could load the pre-release version of this thing onto a phone, and I had to use like push commands, and Joe had to walk me through USB debugging and all this kind of stuff. I was like, wow, I am not a real nerd.
Michael's like, I got something I need you to help me with, but I can't tell you what it is because it's under NDA, and I'm not supposed to talk about it with anybody. So how do I do this? This was awesome. Then I threw him under the bus on Twitter. So
I appreciated that.
Correctly.
Yeah, what a noob.
Shut up! Hey, but I will say this, though. All right, so I was bugging Joe for help about every second step because I kept running into some trouble. Then I finally just stopped bothering him and started troubleshooting for myself. I found a typo in one of the code strings. I sort of learned the syntax of how Terminal operates and stuff. I sent this stuff in a big block to Steven just to be like, oh, look what I'm dealing with right now. Cool, Jules. So fun fact, when you hear the show in edited form, it's all very nicely put together. Here live, Google Hangouts doesn't know what full duplex is, so only one person can have the floor at a time, really. Interrupting is really difficult, so we can't do underscored sound effects. And I don't know what Jules just tried to play, but it sounded pretty cool. Point is...
Announcements.
Oh, already? All right, anyway.
Zoe.
I don't know how many more opportunities I'll get to play in Terminal, but I hope that I have another one soon.
You should hang out there in your weekends instead of browsing around Star Trek forums. You should
Just
Tinker
go,
with ADB.
just tinker. Yeah, just hang out in terminal doing stuff. That's a good call.
Reboot bootloader, fast boot OEM unlock,
Yeah.
and then you have to set your phone up again, but you're unlocked.
I would need to get like 3 over-the-camera angles on me, so people could watch me aggressively coding, like an antitrust.
You would
Which I
also
wanna
want to
watch
get like a disposable netbook to do that on because you would punch a hole in your MacBook screen.
You need at least monitors as well. Do it all
By the
swordfish.
way, that's the movie of the week. So last week it was Cheaters, was the movie we all agreed together to watch and drink on Twitter, and then we didn't do it. So this week, that movie that we're not going to all watch together is Antitrust. I highly recommend it. It's a fun time if you want to see what late 90s hacking was perceived to be. Steven might not agree with me, but I don't care. It's a wonderful time. And Claire Forlani's in it, so you can't not watch it. That's my view, and I'm sticking to it. That's my new tagline, which I stole from someone else. Hey, Jules, ring the bell for the news so I can stop talking.
Speaking of this sound effect that we use for the news, did you hear about Tom Hanks' new app?
Yes.
Steven sent me a link to that in Hangouts, and my only reply was #no. Why don't you tell us what it is? You installed it?
Okay. Yeah, it's called Hanks Writer. I have it on my iPad right here.
All right, so you installed it, and it's like a retro steampunk typewriter keyboard for the iPad, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Well, it is literally just a typewriter app, and it gets rid of every last great feature of an iPad and gives you the clickety-click of a typewriter with the I don't even know the actual name when your real racks. What do you call that?
Carriage return?
Yeah, I don't know what these things are. I wasn't born when typewriters were a thing.
The sliding mechanical carriage with a bell on it? Is that what you're
The
talking
clink
about?
clank and does the chicken
The thing when you return and whatnot.
The keyboard that Steven still uses every podcast. That one?
Let me see if I can type a little
All right,
bit.
so what's the story about this? Why do we care that Tom Hanks has released this app? What does it do for anyone other than sound pretty cool?
Nothing, really.
Okay.
I just really want to see more of these like celebrity, really weird hobby niche apps. Like we're gonna see
Like
I
an
don't know,
Ashton
Gary
Kutcher
Busey's
Nikon
plane
app?
tracking app or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
The significance of this.
What's the guy? Gary Sinise's asteroid tracking app is next.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, and who was it that created a camera case for the iPhone? Who was that?
Oh, that was
again?
Ryan Seacrest.
Nope.
No, not the camera
No,
case.
doing
The
that
was
keyboard.
the BlackBerry keyboard knockoff. Who did the camera case?
I don't know.
Gosh. Wasn't he in the Black Eyed Peas?
Of course,
Isn't
there are
he?
many typewriter apps available on the iPad, but none have Hank's stamp of approval or spirit, according to Stuart Westphal.
Will.i.am designs a new phone
That's
every
it,
single
Will.i.am.
day.
Yeah.
Get it.
Okay, so
Never uses
the
the
whole
same phone
significance to a typewriter app for Tom Hanks is that he collects typewriters. I don't know why that means he should create an iPad app, but he did.
That's cool, though.
Pretty
That's
much anything that you're used to on, like with typing on your iPad, like autocorrect or auto capitalization or punctuation or any of that, it's gone. None of that anymore. You don't have any of that anymore.
But is
So-
the text
Or
in
what you
the
see
old style
is what you
version?
get. It's a WYSIWYG.
Yes,
It should
the
like
text
simulate
is the
the running out of ink halfway through you're writing something.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
yeah,
can see
exactly.
this.
Or like if you're typing live, like you get the if you have to backspace over something, it does an animation of like throwing the whiteout crap on the page.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, you can disable the backspace, but it does use the old typewriter type or the typeface. So the uneven, crazy,
Courier.
weird characters. Yeah, there you
Or
go.
like- Type too quickly and the keys get stuck together.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best part,
They
right
stick. They stick together.
All right, let's. I'm just remembering why none of this is on the rundown because, like, who gives a shit? Let's talk about the actual news of the week, which actually is going to bring me down a little bit. I'm sad. I'm not going to say I'm pissed off because I'm not pissed off. I'm just sad and confused.
Disappointed.
For real, Steven.
Motorola, why can't you play nice with others? We
Come
have
on.
IFA 2014 coming up in early September. Everyone who's anyone's going to be there showing off their latest smartphone stuff. I mean, sure, Apple is probably going to have its own shindig in early September, but everybody else going to be in Berlin. And then Motorola says, nah, I mean, you guys, you're having your fun over there. We'll be hanging out in Chicago, have our own party, September 4. And, I don't know, might be new Moto X, Moto G, some wearable news. But if you want to be in Berlin, that's on you, so.
Man, this is exactly the wrong timing too, because Motorola is on the cusp of getting acquired by a multinational conglomerate. You know, they are not the Motorola of yore, who's like, you know, the American stalwart. And so I understand why they haven't had an IFA presence before, a measurable one, because they're not a very big European brand. But don't do this now. I mean, you know that all of us are going to be either on a plane headed to IFA or already in Berlin. Why do this? I don't understand. It's so sad.
Probably just to spite you, Michael.
Is it just about the world conspiring against me? That's what I assumed. Well, not to worry. We have a backup plan. Our own Adam Dowd has volunteered to cover this event for us. I think it'll be his first event covering for us, so that's going to be fun. No reply from Motorola yet, despite a couple of inquiries about whether they will have anything for IFA goers, whether they've arranged for a last-minute booth or anything like that. I think that would be very nice, but anyway.
One cool thing I've heard mentioned, so the invite, people who can't see, I'm not watching the Hangouts here, had one of those, like, fortune teller, cootie catcher, foldy up things with 4 segments on it, and it's showing what looks like the Moto X, Moto G, Moto 360, and then there's just this, like, Bluetooth headset. And why the hell are you highlighting a Bluetooth headset? This is 2014, not 2004.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I've heard this theory that it might be something a little more elaborate than just a headset, and we could be getting like a smartwatch-like voice control experience that's an earpiece rather than something with a screen.
Do you think they're going to have an earpiece that pops out of the back of the Moto 360?
Oh God!
The Moto 360 is nothing but a carrying case for a Bluetooth earpiece. We all got.
And can it double as a stylus?
Yeah, it would have to, I think.
It also has a heart rate monitor in there that gets your heart rate from the inside of your ear.
Or
Absolutely.
temperature. That'd be a good.
The only way to get proper heart rate, as everyone knows, is via the cochlear method. So yes.
We just lost our clean
cochlear
rating there, Michael.
We ain't had that clean rating for a long time.
Poop, poop, butt, poop.
Well, at any rate, stay tuned for that. We'll be covering it, and we'll get these review devices somehow, and it'll be fun. I'm just so bummed. Anyway, let's move on so that I don't need to dwell on that. This is positive news out of Samsung. I think it is. You disagree, Taylor? Shall we debate this?
This gives me the same sort of distaste that the Motorola news gave you just a second ago.
All right, well, since you've got strong feelings about it, why don't you tell us what the news is? Brief us, because I just briefed myself like 20 minutes ago, and I feel great about it.
Yeah, I feel like I completely missed this news story. I've missed every news story this week, but I did actually catch this one before I went to bed. Samsung announced the Galaxy Alpha, which is a metal Samsung phone that we've been hearing about for I don't know how long. But instead of it being this crazy high-end metal phone that we've been dying for from Samsung, it's kind of it's a Galaxy S5 with the plastic swapped out for metal. It has a 720p screen, no IP ratings whatsoever. I'm sure it's got some, but it's not IP67 like the Galaxy S5. What else am I missing? 12-megapixel main shooter.
For you Breaking Bad fans out there, this is a half measure rather than a full measure that we needed.
Yeah, yeah, it's bad. So
drug jokes.
I don't know. I don't know why.
Chemistry, Michael. Chemistry.
Yeah.
But you don't like the look of it? I mean, what is disappointing about this? Because I feel like, are you in the same boat as everyone else who's like, it doesn't have flagship specs, so I'm not interested in it? Is that your principal beef?
No, it's still ugly. It's still hideous, just as hideous as the S5.
All right, it's not as hideous as the S5. So, okay, I see where you're coming from.
It still has the Band-Aid back, right?
Yes, it does, and it has very strong. It's obviously it's a Samsung phone. They all sort of look the same. It's this design lineage, but they have changed some things. The corners are narrower radius. What
happened to the corners?
I beg your pardon?
What happened to the corners?
What do you mean?
Looks like somebody took a cut out of each corner.
Yeah,
on the sides, not on the tops, but on the sides.
It's not entirely clear from these renders.
Oh yeah.
The metal band around the edges changes diameter, sort of.
Did they do that so that Apple can't come to them when they're like, this is rectangular and looks like an iPhone. Samsung's like, well, we put these hideous corners on here, so you're admitting that your iPhone is really hideous like this thing.
No, you know what it is? I think the beveled edge stops just short of the corner, so the corners are more pronounced without the beveled edges on them. But I'm not entirely sure that's right from these renders.
Lighting.
Yeah, there's some weird faux lighting on this faux device. But I will say this, I think it looks better than a lot of other Samsung devices, and I think that's because of its smaller footprint and the metal band around it. But it does look an awful lot like an iPhone 5 something to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm past that. I think it looks nice. I just wish this is maybe the design Samsung went with from the get-go with the S5.
It looks like this with
it kind of does, yeah.
What was Joe? Joe was holding up a device. I'm going to switch to Taylor. Taylor's holding up the Mi. Yeah, the Mi 4 looks a lot like the Lumia icon, but it also looks a lot like this. And at some point, somebody's going to call us out for just comparing all these rectangles that sort of look the same. You know, so I don't know.
I have a couple phones here that don't look the same. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm with you. I sat next to a gentleman from Phone Arena last night at dinner who has a Moto X, and an ebony Moto X at that. And it was nice to be in the crew of folks without solid rectangles with, no distinguishing characteristics. But I think this Alpha looks nice. I really do.
Like my phone that's bigger than my head, but it's nothing more than just a giant rectangle.
Yeah, but that's distinctive for its size. Well, all right, so let's talk about that. So we might be bringing this design language to another phone, although this pic looks bogus as all get out. What about this Galaxy Note 4 pic leak? Could this really be it, Stephen?
I don't buy it. I mean, just you look at enough of these and you get this sixth sense for when something doesn't look right. And this, I mean, there's no clear signs of cloning or any obvious visual artifacts, but at the same time, it's too bright in places where it shouldn't be. It's cleaner than you'd think in the wild pic should be. Yeah, it's got this reflection on the front, but I mean, these render-making guys are really good at faking reflections and making stuff look legit. More than that, it feels like someone took the idea of the Galaxy Alpha from all the renders we've seen, just extrapolated I combined that with a Note 3. It's like the old the Conan sketch, what if they made it, or this is the mashup, I guess, of the Galaxy Alpha and the Note 3. And it's less than convincing. But still there is this rumor that even if this isn't the actual thing, that we could be getting metal on a lot of more Galaxy phones going forward, the Note 4 and the S6 they're saying now in this new report out of China. But I don't know, guys. I don't think this is how it's going to look exactly.
No, I don't either. These pictures just look wrong. Somebody left a very helpful link in the comments to a site where you can hover your pointer over the image and it exposes Photoshop errors or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've never placed a lot of faith in those, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it illustrated a lot of red flags to me, but just looking at this stuff, it just doesn't. Something is off, Stephen. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, like the background in one is like this dark brown, black, and then the other it's like a tan color. Yeah, this seems to be the same background, so something's not right there.
So let me ask the question.
It's not the fakest pic I've seen this week, I'll say that.
Right. But let me ask the question. So assume that the Note 4 looks like this. Assume that this is what we're going to get, this kind of expanded Galaxy Alpha, as you called it, Stephen, with a pronounced stylus port and a new kind of faux texture on the back. Would you guys be, all of you, would you be disappointed or?
Oh no, I think it's nice. I don't mind this direction for the design at all. If this is where Samsung is going, I just don't think that this is real. But if it was, fine, sure, why not?
Yeah.
It reminds me very much of a Sony design, more than a Samsung.
And I think that's because of the boxier nature of it. I think that's because they're moving away from these smooth, rounded corners and making stuff just ever sharper. Yeah, Joe, that's a good point. This looks very much like a Sony device.
It looks like a little wider version of this.
Of the Xperia Z Ultra.
Some like Bauhaus-looking phones in here.
Yeah.
Between Stephen making Bauhaus comments and HTC calling Zoe its postmodern social network, I think this field is getting too smart for me. I think it's about time I went to go be a park ranger, like I've always said I've wanted to do.
Ooh.
Wouldn't that be nice? Let's close out our discussion.
That's my dream job, dude.
What your day job? What?
My dream job. That's my dream job.
Being a park ranger?
Absolutely. Fire watcher, out in the middle of nowhere. Ham radio.
No, I think that would be fun. I'd like to do it at a I think I'd like to do it at a seaside port, though. I'd like to be a park ranger who runs a lighthouse. I think that would be a real fun third act to my lifetime career.
It's a very good point from Jules. They're viewifying the Note 4.
Viewifying, as in LGVU.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, that's an
Yeah.
It's just the aspect of this thing looks kind of strange.
You know, we're going to see this thing very soon. I want to make the point that we don't have a month of more of leaks ahead of us. Like, we're going to see this thing
2.5 weeks.
Yeah, so.
And with that coming up, you got to believe that if the real thing's going to leak, it's going to leak very, very soon.
Very, very soon from things that I have heard this afternoon. So we will see. We may see this sucker sooner rather than later. Let's find out. Before we go into the other miscellany of the news, let's talk about the final set of devices. This Lumia 830 model might come in 3 different versions for 3 different U.S. carriers, and we're expecting to see this at IFA as well, as I understand it, right, Stephen?
Yeah, and this is sort of a weird rumor because we're not that used to seeing a lot of physical differences in the phones of these carrier variants. I mean, yes, the radio will change, and occasionally we do get a carrier who will do like the Verizon with the 930 and it has the icon, but it's the exception that proves the rule. Yet they're saying that this 830 is not only going to be coming to all these carriers, but it won't be precisely the same phone that all of them are getting. The screen size might actually be different between them. The resolution could be different as well. And that's a bigger change than we've seen in the past. I mean, we're used to, if there are going to be these different versions, it's generally aesthetic changes. Maybe the case is a little bulkier, maybe the battery's a little different, but screen is kind of a pretty major thing to be touching here. But
yeah, it reminds me of, just like the Galaxy S5 variants, it reminds me of the olden days of several years ago when different carriers got pronounced variations, like the 1SV and the 1V. Like the carriers got different versions of back when the one line was really split up pretty heavily by HTC, and those were different screen sizes, different spec loadouts. Like it's odd. And Windows Phone, we actually don't have this story in the rundown, but Windows Phone's growth is down year over year. And that is attributed primarily, I think, to a lesser portfolio of devices. So maybe we're seeing an early reaction to that. I doubt this very much, but maybe we're seeing an early reaction to that where they would like to kick up production on as many models as possible.
I've heard comparisons to the situation with LG and the G Vista, which launched on Verizon, and then we heard about it coming to AT&T, and for some reason there's a different resolution on the screen. So it happens. It's weird.
It is strange.
We're trying to look for a reason into why this might be. I mean, it takes a lot of effort to have a separate phone, and you're managing 2 SKUs. So why do this? What's the benefit?
You and I ran into an issue, a similar thing with the Desire 610 or something like that at that AT&T event, where the spec sheets weren't in agreement, and we found out that there was no error. It was just that AT&T requested the same device with a different display resolution. So don't fool yourselves, folks. Carriers are still very involved in the discussion of selecting devices. So.
And they shouldn't be.
Yeah, this is a philosophical thing. Fortunately, we have other things to debate, to yell at each other about. I like that Joe Levi is conserving his voice later for the info bomb he's going to drop on us.
I apologize for that. I've had a bad cough and cold over the last 2 weeks, and I'm sucking on cough drops right now. So
don't you apologize. You preserve that voice, man. That is one of our finest assets.
My very wide voice.
Can we discuss this render now?
Can we discuss the what now?
The render. Because there are 2 things that just immediately make me cringe. This is a beautiful phone.
This is the Lumia 830.
Oh yeah, this has been the fakest thing all week.
Yeah, well, if this were to be it, I would cry. A top-mounted micro USB port and a flat back with a rear-mounted speaker. Those are 2 of the worst things you can put on a phone.
Yeah, well, that's true, and not to mention, I don't like the downsized Oreo. I like the idea of preserving the Lumia 1020's camera Oreo, but what makes the 1020 acceptable is that it's ugly and it's not afraid to be ugly with that big old camera hump. This is kind of like it's reduced the camera Oreo by perhaps 75 or 25%, 30% in diameter, and it seems to be seems to have made it flush in this render, and I don't like that. I mean, if you're gonna go big, then go big. Don't.
And there's less going on within the Oreo itself. The lens is small. We don't have a big xenon flash. It seems like it's to remind us of the 1020, but it doesn't look like it's
right. It would only serve to remind me that I wish I had bought the 1020.
Yeah.
About this thing. Yeah, like don't bring this weak sauce in here.
This is clearly a render. There's a couple pics going around that I didn't run because they're just really fishy looking. I think they came from, it's somewhere in Asia. It might have been a Vietnamese forum, but they show this phone with, it's clearly a 635 screenshot on it, and so the phone has capacitive buttons, but the screenshot has virtual buttons. There are several versions of the same pic in different colors, but it's like physically the same image, like angle, phone, everything have just been palette swapped in Photoshop. Those are super sketchy, and I don't even know if they're based on a real phone that have just been modified, or there's a lot of iffy information about the 830 going around at the moment. Luckily, I think we're going to get our formal announcement of it very soon, because that Microsoft invitation we saw, the O in it looks exactly like the Oreo on the back of this 830 here.
Oh, yeah, it does, doesn't it? That's right. Yeah. I was wondering about that. Okay. Yeah, we're going to be that waiting on our or a York peppermint patty. Jules helpfully tosses in. I think we're going to be seeing that in person very shortly as well. So yeah, let's move on from that. That's going to be interesting. We'll have plenty to say about that. There's a couple non-device things in the old lineup here. We have a reversible USB connector standardized finally. So all those who have been envious of Apple's Lightning connector with its insert it any way you want philosophy need not feel that jealousy anymore. And Stephen, how long, or Joe, or Taylor, anyone who wants to answer me, how long until we start seeing these ports rolled out to manufacturers and incorporated in products I can buy?
2 decades.
They just formalized the standard for this thing this week. So, I mean, manufacturers only now know the exact physical dimensions of this thing. Then chip guys can start working on the electrical specs of the circuits that are going to run these, because it's not just a physical new port, it's the USB 3.1 standard. It's going to communicate over that. So
yeah, and that can go up to like 100 watts or something like that, right? I mean, it can get...
it'll pull a lot of power. It's not just versatile upside down, downside up, but also the cable's going to be the same on both ends, so you can have a big end on your PC or charger and a little end of the phone. It can go either way, so it's nice. It's going to be like completely universal. Just it could take a while to get here.
I wonder if you'll be able to then, I mean, so assuming every cable that ships with every phone is going to be the same on each end, I mean, would you be able to cable connect two phones if you didn't want to bump your phones and do an NFC to Bluetooth transfer? Could you do direct cable transfers between smartphones?
And presumably one of them goes into host mode if it supports that, and there's no reason why it couldn't. I mean, it has to be implemented in software.
Yeah, a physical connection, yes, you could do, but being able to do anything with it, that remains to be seen.
We'll see. No, it's not in the rundown. It's interesting that something along these lines popped up in the news this morning, where we spotted Apple working on... Apple just has to one-up everybody here. So yeah, this news about the USB Type-C connector arrives this week, and now this Apple leak shows up. It's a Lightning cable. The Lightning side's the same, still interchangeable, upside down, right side up there. Now the USB side looks like they're doing the same thing, and it would fit in the same standard, the rectangular big USB ports you have on your PC right now, except instead of the where it has like a plastic hard piece in one side of the USB plug, it would have like a little flexible tab there, and you can just either way, it will plug right in. I don't know how real it is, but Apple definitely has a patent for this thing. They've thought about this idea, and it could arrive as soon as the iPhone 6.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just so excited about all the rest of us getting some of this fun. And really, I understand it's a new standard. I understand that there's a lot to get excited about besides the simple fact that you can plug it in upside down or right side up. But as people constantly joke about in my Twitter circles, never have I ever inserted a USB cable the right way on the first try. This is going to be a massive usability improvement for me. And
you just have to look at the thing before you try to plug it in.
I spend a lot of time in the dark, brother.
I have not had this problem at all until I recently moved where I have the charger in my bedroom. And so when I'm going to plug on my phone at night, it's in the dark, and I'm just kind of feeling for it. And oh my God, it's so hard.
Boom. Hey, but wait, hold up. You carry the Nexus 5.
Yeah.
So why don't you have a Qi charger next to your bed like I do?
Because they're too expensive. I tried to get when AT&T was liquidating their Nokia ones for like $5 a piece. I ain't paying $30 for a charger. It's a charger.
$10.
And it's beautiful.
It's not a charger, Stephen. It's a lifestyle.
$10 on Amazon.
Yeah, go to Amazon.
I can do that.
Yeah. Go to our store. Maybe Pocketnow has a deal on
them.
those. By the way, I ordered my
Do I have a
Bluetooth
discount?
shower speaker from Pocketnow Deals like weeks ago, and it's not here. What's going on?
The
Steven?
stick-on one. That's neat.
Yeah, come
You
on.
are bottom, well, I guess top of the totem pole. Low
Yeah.
priority.
Thank
I've
you
been
for
using
correcting
the
that, by the way.
little iFrogs Bluetooth speaker we got from AT&T,
Yeah.
putting it in a plastic bag, and then it works in the shower. It's a little ghetto, but
It is.
You guys need one of
the
these.
childhood amusement park solution. Taylor is holding up a it looks like a Beats pill, but it's not.
It is not. It is a Logitech Ultimate Ears Boom. And it's amazing. It's really, really loud, and it's waterproof.
hey,
Well, thank you for that, Reco, brother. Let's talk about how OnePlus One screwed up again. Or OnePlus, rather. This is a company that can seem to get a lot of things right, despite the fact that they make a phone that I enjoy a lot. I was just hanging out with my friend Chris Larson, who reviewed the OnePlus One for us last night. I was holding that phone and saying things about it in the presence of open ears everywhere. That amounted to, I would own this sucker. I would buy the hell out of this.
but
I have a small amount of beef with the company for kind of all the ways they're screwing up. But also I'm just not kind of a CyanogenMod guy. But anyway, they first anger everybody by Joe rolls his eyes. I like that. They anger everybody by insisting that you destroy your phone to get an invite to buy the thing. Then they anger everybody by
or just having the invites in the first place. I think that's
just
when
having the
they
invite structure in the first place, right? And then not making enough to secure demand. They have quality control issues, all the kind of stuff you expect from a startup. But the real fails have been in the marketing department of this company. And Stephen, why don't you tell us exactly what this contest was? This was a contest called Ladies First, right?
So OnePlus is trying to reach out to its female fans out there, and the company is still, because of the invite situation, they've been doing a lot of giveaways, finding ways to attract people to the phone, get them into this, and then offer them these invite codes as prizes. So this latest one, they're inviting ladies to post a picture of themselves holding up a little piece of paper, writing on their hand, OnePlus, and taking a selfie. We see these sort of things a lot, but then making a contest out of it and asking the winners to be voted on by the forum users starts feeling a little weird here. Because what exactly are you voting for here? Are we just awarding the prettiest girls the OnePlus invite codes, and they get a t-shirt too? And then already that's an extremely messy situation, and one that anyone who's been doing social media for a while should probably recognize this was not the right path to go down. And then they have to throw in this warning at the end, oh, and ladies, please, please, no nudity. As if, one, that was ever something anyone was thinking. Like, oh, I'm going to write OnePlus across my chest here and send the pic in because I love the smartphones so much. And this is what I want to be on a public forum here. And it's just so tone-deaf and offensive, and the last thing you want to be doing if you're trying to get women interested in your company and your product is treating them in this manner. And
objectifying them.
Yeah.
And then OnePlus sort of tried to push through it. Like, they're getting this resistance online from the idea, and the people are complaining about it in the forum thread, and they're like, guys, keep it on track, let's just keep the contest going. Eventually they came to their senses and shut things down, but the fact that they didn't do it right away, again, just it implies they're making bad decisions, or the people who should be stopping these things are not plugged in and are not aware of what's going on the marketing side. It's embarrassing, really.
Now, Cyanogen had to come out on Twitter and kind of do a little damage control on behalf of the combined whole by tweeting, "We value all of our users and do not support any contest that objectifies people."
I don't even know if that was damage control. I just felt like that was distancing Cyanogen from OnePlus and sort of leaving them to take the fall here.
Semantics. Either way, I mean, they had to react because this got to be pretty big. Now, I want to make the point that there's some crazy debates going on in comment sections all across the internet about this, and I don't want to talk about it for very long, and that's because we are, if you look at the podcast right now, if the audience has a look at the live stream right now, what we have is a panel of 4 dudes of roughly the same age from about the same geographic region of the planet talking about technology. And this is not typically a world where women are present very often on our side of things in the sort of reporting that we do. And as a result, we are uniquely not qualified to talk about whether this stuff is offensive or isn't, except in the broad terms that Stephen very nicely laid out before. And the whole reason
we're aware it's very sensitive and that this is not something that companies should be getting into lightly without knowing exactly how people are going to react to this.
Exactly, right. And
the first half of this contest was a good idea. Let's get women involved. Let's get it out. Let's do a contest just for them. Let's make sure they're actually women by having them send in a picture with our logo. Fabulous, great. If they'd have done that and then said, and we will randomly pick 50.
Yeah, or everyone.
Done. Or, yeah, absolutely, everyone. But instead saying, and then we're going to put you up on a wall and have everybody vote on who their favorite is, that's where they went the wrong way. And it took them a long time to realize that, and I don't think they came to their senses. I think they bowed to the pressure. I think they'd do it again
if they realized
they had to.
And necessarily exactly what they were doing wrong at first.
Yeah, and regardless of the outcome, I want to make it clear that I don't think this was a case of tone-deaf execution, not malicious intent, certainly. But it's very easy to do that when you exist in this kind of weird bubble of a world that is not a replication of the outside world whatsoever. So I want to make the point that there. I'm sorry, Taylor, you wanted to make a point, then I'll make a closing point.
Oh, my point was just that it read more like a chive contest to win a T-shirt than a technology contest. So.
Right. I should say that we shouldn't throw the entire OnePlus community under the bus. At the time this was finally taken down, one of the highest voted, if not the highest voted, images on the contest thread was not a woman who was going out of her way to be sexy or anything like that. It was a young mom with her child, and they had done a nice duo pose with the kid had the OnePlus logo and she had a thing, and that was as I say, one of the highest voted images ever. So I also don't want to say that everyone who is in the OnePlus community and who participated in this contest is a cretin. Certainly, this is just not executed well.
I think the community responded well by playing to or taking the higher road there.
In that particular instance, yes. Yeah. But in a broader sense, we realize that the top of our YouTube page is like 9 dudes, and we realize that Pocketnow is kind of one of these last few boys clubs in tech, and that is not intentional. And actually, we have some directives from on high to sort of try and change that up. So watch for news on this, because this is something I've been trying to change for a long time. And not that I don't like hanging out with you guys. I just, we need some more diversity on the old team here. We need some new perspective.
We've had women on the team before, and they just come in and they go and they move on to other stuff, and we have women on the side, not the public-facing side, that do stuff for us. I'm trying to word this so it doesn't get turned into a OnePlus scandal.
Right.
They do things that are less visible that are invaluable to us in the whole team. So it's not a bunch of guys.
No, but the reporting side is, obviously, the content generation side is, and that's what I want to. I would very much like for that to change. Is my point. So. Yeah,
we're trying to be morally sound over here and talk about how not to objectify women, and my girlfriend is texting me the complete opposite right now. So.
Are you?
She said she wants to twerk right now. So. Just saying.
Thank you, Taylor.
You're welcome.
If you want more content like that, you can join us on the Untethered podcast every week.
I had to bring it back down because we were being too nice for a little while.
Getting a little heady. Let's move on. I tell you what, we've got one more. I will pop this collar while we're learning about what Jan Dawson thinks about smartwatches. Stephen, take us through this interesting report briefly, if you would.
Yeah, so smartwatches clearly are very big this year. We've seen this sea change in availability coming from new manufacturers, new platforms. It's probably just going to have more options before the year's out. And so a lot of people are curious, is this just a fad? Are these things going to still be big a year from now? So we checked out this analyst report that sought out the public opinion on smartwatches, what sort of functionality people are looking for. what they're interested in about the current gen models, and what it has to say isn't necessarily good news. It seems to suggest that a lot of the smartwatches out now are falling short of customer expectations. They're not delivering really compelling features, and the sort of things that are put front and center for a lot of these smartwatches, especially Android Wear. Notifications and the things that we assume are basic functionality, fitness tracking, are not necessarily things that a lot of people are looking for. So the report suggests that we need to see someone really take the reins here and deliver a substantially different smartwatch. And it is not clear exactly how that should happen. It gives a couple options. We could see a manufacturer try to tackle some big physical problems with the watches, solve the battery issue, or maybe someone who, like I mentioned with the Motorola thing, and if they might be making a smart earpiece, someone who sort of takes the smartwatch design and finds a way to make it work without the screen being a big part of that. Or just new functionality, using the watch as a token to unlock things, figuring out a way to make mobile payments work really well. And it's also sort of leaving the door open for maybe Apple being the company to step in and change things. But the one point it seems to drive home really strongly is if you're making a smartwatch, making one that's just like everything else out there, making a rectangular smartwatch that runs Android Wear, that is exactly like 2 or 3 other options, is not going to sell. It's not going to attract shoppers, and unless you're reinventing the wheel implies doing the same thing over again, but unless you're delivering something new and substantial, that you don't have a really big hope of catching the public's attention. And I don't think this is something that's necessarily shocking, but it's a reflection of reality that's a little depressing, I think, to the manufacturers out there who are hoping to get in on this at the ground floor and pick up some of this smartwatch money being thrown around. It's just, I don't know, we're not getting what we need in order to make this something like that has the acceptance level that smartphones see, where everyone has them.
To me, this is just a reflection in data, and good data, I think, because Jan Dawson is an excellent analyst, on something I see every day in the real world, particularly when I take trips back to see my family in a more rural area. Everyone is, interested in the smartwatch that I'm wearing, whatever it happens to be at the time. I get a lot of questions about it, but that does not immediately transfer to a desire for it in almost anyone I talk to. Like, people are not busting down the gates to get at these things. But I guess that was not the case really for smartphones for a very long time. They took a long time to sort of infiltrate society, but I don't see the urgent need that I eventually saw with smartphones happening in the smartwatch field, and that's maybe a little scary for these manufacturers who thought this would be the thing that could help them shore up some sales after tablet growth crashed into the basement.
So, I mean, what else can you do with a smartwatch without making it a standalone device? What else could you possibly do?
That might be another thing that people are looking for, is a smartwatch that has its own cellular radio.
But what's the point in that? You're going to make calls and do all kinds of crazy hardcore stuff from your wrist? That doesn't seem logical.
Yeah, right. And more,
it's an accessory.
More importantly, I don't think it's the call thing, because I think fewer and fewer people care about calling. What are you going to do when you're stuck at the airport and you want to watch something on Netflix? You're not going to watch it on your wrist, and you're not going to take out a tablet unless your standalone smartwatch makes you carry a tablet everywhere. And then we're back to...
I don't know, man. 5 years ago, I would have said that just downloading full-length movies, watching them on your phone is something nobody would want to do. Why would you want to watch a movie on a tiny 5-inch screen? Yet, it's a big business now. Google Play Store, iTunes, movies.
But nobody...
We're talking about a 5-inch screen versus a
1.5-inch screen, yeah.
Granted, but when I first heard about the idea, it seemed just as, who would want to do this crazy to me? Maybe
I was watching... I had a 5-inch tablet in 2009 that I watched movies on.
Did you have a Dell Streak?
No. I had the Arcos 5 internet tablet.
Oh, that Arcos, yeah.
It was bad, but I did watch movies from it, and it did have a 5-inch screen. So
well, this is what sort of has contributed to my own particular tablet removal or tablet reduction, in that I am already carrying a device that has usually at least a 4.7-inch screen, if not a 5.5-inch, and if I want to start consuming media, I'm just going to keep using the device I've been using all day, because I sort of am used to it, I know how it works and whatever. I'm not going to want to switch over to a tablet that's I have to get used to, even if it's only for just a few minutes.
Take that and extend that out to smartwatches then. People, and I think this was one of the problems that the report was getting to. If you're just delivering the same functionality you have on your phone, well, I already use my phone. Why don't I just pull that out of my pocket?
Because, and that goes back to what we always say about smartwatches.
Yeah, this is just really crystallizing. This seems to be what the public at large feels.
But, and the problem is they're not forced to wear them. I just think everyone should.
Is that what we need? Like a mandatory, you wear it for a month, and then now everyone's going to get it.
I think OEMs would benefit keenly from that, which is why I wonder if it wouldn't benefit them, some OEMs, to just take a huge loss and put smartwatches on the wrists of a lot of people at even a total loss. Sell these things in a fire sale and just get them out.
Put them in a box with the Galaxy S5.
Put them in a box with the phone. Absolutely. Bundle them with a smartphone, particularly one that's either big enough or ungainly enough that you don't want to be pulling out of your pocket all the time.
Okay, here you go. We've got Android L coming up. We got new phones coming up. We got Android Wear that's already here. And Android L and Android Wear are going to play together to unlock devices. So just make it so the device cannot be unlocked unless the watch is there. No. We've just forced people to wear the watch.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
It's called sarcasm, people. Sarcasm.
No, I think it's Xiaomi has the right idea with this really cheap wearable, the $17. It doesn't have a screen. It's just a fitness tracker, really. But that's what you need to do. Make it so cheap that people will pick it up on a whim. They're not giving them away with a phone. That would be the smart idea. But just so stupid affordable that you have to try it out.
Jules makes a good point. We've been suggesting a lot of loss leader marketing strategies lately. Like we are on a mission to get people to spend their money.
But is selling a watch at cost such a bad idea? Even if you don't sell it at a loss, sell it at cost. Like the Moto 360, do you actually think that watch costs $200, $300, $350 to make? I highly doubt it.
No, but it costs more than the others probably. But
yeah. But my point is the G Watch.
There it is.
Yeah, sell the G Watch at cost, or even sell it at a discount if you get it with an LG phone or something like that.
That's the thing. I don't know if Android Wear is good enough that even at cost right now, that even at cost people would pick them up. I think when it gets to a very mature state. Although I got an update on my on my Gear Live the other day, so I expect that experience to be improving as we go forward.
And I'm still running a custom ROM, so.
I also think that there's not a lot of consistency in the wearables market right now. There are all these different platforms out there. There's the Martian Notifier, which doesn't necessarily have its own platform, but there's Pebble. There's Samsung's Tizen-based
Galaxy Gear, or excuse me, Gear
watches,
line.
Gear watches, whatever they are.
This morning we heard
Android Wear.
What, Steven?
This morning we heard that Sony is coming out with a new smartwatch 3, and that's not going to run Android Wear. It's going to have the Sony ecosystem. It's going to keep living on.
Right. Good point. Yep. So Taylor, so what you're saying is what? Like, I mean,
there's no consistency. There's right now, currently, there is no one definitive platform that anyone that's not us, that hasn't tried them all, can say, get this in a wearable. There's no iWatch, so you can't say get an Apple Watch. There's Android Wear, which is brand new to the market and, as you would say, unfinished. And then you have Pebble and Samsung's watches and then Sony's watches, and none of them are, like, right this minute, definitively the winner.
Reminds me a whole lot of when, Palm and Windows Mobile and Symbian,
that's exactly it. Yes.
They're all slugging it out. Yeah, this is the same thing.
We're also leaving out everything from Garmin. Garmin's got some really good wearables that I would consider a smartwatch, but not in the realm that we're talking about here.
Yeah, then you got the new Timex sucker that connects to the cellular network, right?
They're all smartwatches, right?
Yeah. So once you get this one that's just leagues better than any of the others, I think you'll see it start taking a change, or the course of the smartwatch changing, in that people will know where to start and what to buy. Because right now there's so many options that are just kind of unproven. There's nothing that's proven right now. Pebble is the closest thing we have to that, and even that, some people would say, is, questionable.
It's hot, fresh, and fly, though.
Yeah, that's the point. Like, you're spending $150 or $250 on this watch that looks like it's from 1995.
No, I like this steel though.
Oh, I'm happy with it. I'm just saying, to the general consumer, there's not one certain smartwatch to buy right now.
And let's not forget the Ben 10 watch that Jules has helpfully put up on the screen for us. It looks like a turtle com. By the way, does anybody know if they have turtle comms in the new movie? No, I'm not going to go see it, so I just wanted to know. I might go see it if they had a turtle com in it.
Well, we were talking a minute ago about...
You're going to go see it, Michael. You know you're going to go see it.
I'm not going to go see it.
You're going to go see it.
What, Stephen?
About pushing these watches out as loss leaders or selling them at cost. And one thing, or problem, I'm not sure it's a problem, that I think manufacturers need to figure out maybe is how smartwatches continue to make money. Now, I'm with smartphones, the carrier is going to get money with service, so you can sell it subsidized. Or you consume media on them, and if you try to run your own app store like Samsung does, or Sony, and you're selling music or movies, then you generate profit there. But smartwatches, we're not consuming media on them. They don't really have their own app stores. I mean, yeah, Pebble does, and you can have apps on Android Wear, but that's done through a phone app. So there's not really a clear way right now for watches to generate money on an ongoing basis for anyone. And I wonder if that's something that needs to be. That would be lovely.
A remote
Netflix, yeah.
I mean, maybe like a streaming audio service could get into this, but there's no. I think that's something they need to
Spot
figure
technology.
out.
That's the thing, I feel like smartwatches are such capable accessories compared to, say, a Bluetooth headset or even a wired headset, that we forget that they are still accessories. They are more akin to the accessory than they are to the smartphone that they connect to, despite the fact that some of them have Snapdragon 400s in them and stuff like that. These are constrained by their tiny footprints to only doing a certain amount of things, and at the moment not doing a lot of them terribly well. So we have to keep that in mind. And I had a Bluetooth headset for like 3 years back in the day, because why do you need to replace your headset that often? You sort of don't. So I think these are going to be more like along the tablet track of upgradability once every 4 years or something like that, not once every year or 2 years as you'd see with a smartphone.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend $350 every year on a watch.
Yeah, I am, but everyone else is not.
So again, I can see us making that exact same argument several years ago about I'm not spending $400 a year on a phone. That's crazy, and yet here we are.
Good point. Yeah.
It was $1,000 on a phone back then.
Yeah. So you're confirming, Stephen, that the smartwatch industry, as infant as it may seem and unproven, that it has a lot of similarities with the smartphone market about 15 years ago?
Yeah, I think there's some alignment going on there.
I think this is something that we're going to have to explore further very soon. I have no doubt we will see some more smartwatches at IFA. Of course, by then, the Moto 360s that Google I/O attendees are getting will already be out there. We'll be flooded in Moto 360 content very soon, and we're going to talk about these a lot. So let's move on from smartwatches for now. Okay. I want to jump spot to the next segment, which is the first time we're doing this segment, which is a lot of fun. Before we do that, I want to let everyone know, if you're just joining us, we want to thank our sponsor, Swappa.com, for agreeing to be a part of the Pocketnow Weekly. Swappa, like Pocketnow, is very much a part of the mobile community, so we are genuinely thrilled that the team there wanted to be a part of what we do here. Please support us by supporting them. Visit Swappa.com/Pocketnow so they know we sent you. Thank you. This is a segment.
I got a jet, Michael.
It's a lot of fun. Taylor, you're gonna fail?
Frantic waving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only have one display, so I can't see. When I have text up. Listen, go do your thing. Enjoy your comparison. Tell people what they can expect for the work that you're putting in right now. Taylor, what is it?
These two compared. That is the M8 and the Mi 4. That should be
the
up.
HTC One M8 versus the Xiaomi Mi 4. That should be up, what, tonight?
Yeah. Probably not on Pocketnow.com, but it will be up on YouTube. It won't be up on the site until Monday, probably.
Well, outstanding. You have a good time with that, sir, and enjoy your Friday night.
I will. Good day.
Farewell, Taylor Martin.
Martin out.
This is a segment that now that we have a little bit more balance to the force here. Jules has retitled the segment in his title card, but this is a segment called Learn Something, where we kind of take a break. We have a segment about getting educated. We bring on someone who really knows their ish. In this case, Joe Levi, in a very particular small segment of the mobile space that's getting bigger. Joe Levi takes us through the heated Blackphone versus BlackBerry argument today, and lets us know what kind of security we can and can't expect. So, Joe, would you like me to lay a framework for what we're talking about here?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
All right. So, as we were talking about before, we've got the Blackphone review up. We've been generating Blackphone content for about a week. Blackphone is the super secure phone that was announced at MWC and that we got our hands on thanks to GSM Nation a couple days ago. And as we started producing Blackphone content, we started to notice a dramatic uptake in comments from BlackBerry fans. And usually when this happens, it's not a good thing, and that is true in this case as well. It is typically a surge of input from people, fans of a platform, who feel threatened by a new entrant that looks to try to take some market share from their preferred platform. And there are some threads over at Crackberry encouraging people to go anywhere the Blackphone is mentioned and go evangelize. And maybe it's not Crackberry, I may have misspoken, but it's somewhere. Anyway, this always happens and whatever. The thing is here that Blackphone didn't even start the fight. BlackBerry kicked off a sort of small PR campaign against Blackphone, calling out perceived security failings with the latter. And then Blackphone felt compelled to respond. And so there's been this kind of back and forth. And all this sort of came to a head at DEF CON this past week. And that's where I'll let Joe tell us a little bit about what occurred, if you would, Joe.
So we had Blackphone, according to the sources, according to the BlackBerry fans, completely defeated and proven that it's insecure and everyone should run away from it because it's the worst thing in the world. What happened was...
one site ran a headline, sorry, Joe, not to interrupt, but one site ran a headline that was completely erroneous that said, Blackphone hacked in less than 5 minutes. And then a bunch of other sites took that and ran with it without necessarily bothering to verify the veracity of that claim. So go ahead.
So there were two bugs, essentially, that were found. One of them has already been patched, and Michael and I installed the update on our Blackphones. It was the 1.0.2 update to Private OS. Fixed one of the holes, so that's not an issue or a concern anymore. The other issue has to do with root, and anybody who's watched the Pocketnow Power User series knows that root really isn't a security hole. It's not a problem. Root is a feature that we very often try and get by any means necessary, and the way that we obtain it is by exploiting a vulnerability in the phone. Now, those vulnerabilities exist all over the place in every platform, not just Android, but every platform. Some of them are easier to find because they're open source than others that are closed source, like iPhone and BlackBerry. But once that exploit is found, anything can exploit it and anything can use it, which is why I'm a big advocate of rooting your device and putting in a good super user manager so that anything that tries to ask for root permissions has this really strong gatekeeper that tells you, hey, this app is asking for it. Do you want to grant access to it? And there you go. I mean, I don't think root is a security hole. Being able to get root through a vulnerability, though, that's what we're talking about. So how is this accomplished? Well, let's pretend like this is my Blackphone that I sadly had to send back. What I would have to do to root this, first of all, I would have to have physical access to the device. Second, I would have to be able to turn it on and log into it. Now, Blackphone, unlike other Androids, you have to have a PIN or a password to get into it, as far as I can tell. I couldn't find any other way to unlock the device. So I've got to unlock your phone. After I do that, I've got to go in and turn on ADB debugging and
Which I learned how to do the other day.
Yeah, Michael learned how to do that. It was great. And accept the warning that comes up that says, hey, you might not want to do this, or you might want to do it temporarily. Depending on the device that you have, the warning is worded differently. You've got to accept the risk, plug it into a computer, and then run an ADB command against it to exploit a vulnerability to gain root. So once you take everything that it takes to obtain root, yes, it was less than 5 minutes, but he had the device, he had the equipment, he had the computer, he had the password. He was okay with giving up that amount of security by turning on ADB. That you can't do that in under 5 minutes with a Blackphone that you find in a bar or on a subway. It's just not going to happen.
What you're saying is that it is not a real-world situation. It is not a scenario that... I think you put it best in a comment reply to somebody on the review where you said you have to have physical access to the device and you have to have the passcode. If somebody has those two things, then you have a bigger problem than root. Right.
Yeah. This is like the attacks where, oh yeah, we can read the unencrypted memory contents out if you tear the phone apart and dip it in liquid nitrogen. Well, fair enough.
Right. Yeah, right. So this is why I had principal beef with that story that was just being kind of circulated as fact, which really told us no useful information except to rile up the threatened fanboys of a threatened platform. Right.
Yes, exactly.
When I saw this going around over the weekend, the news I got from it wasn't, oh, Blackphone hacked, everyone panic. It was BlackBerry fans are going nuts trying to spread this as the death of the Blackphone. And even the person who found this hack says, y'all should just calm the F down.
Oh, yeah, he got really fed up with it rather quick. It's fun to watch his Twitter feed just kind of, watch his tone shift over time as he was momentarily excited about hacking the Blackphone, pissed off that all they gave him was a T-shirt because they didn't have a bounty program, and then increasingly pissed off by BlackBerry fans twisting the facts to suit themselves. And but I want to hear about this because this does bring up an interesting point, Joe. We have two very different device families here. We have Blackphone and BlackBerry, each purporting to protect you, to protect your data, but they do it in very different ways. And I sort of want to hear. This is a very complicated question, but I want to hear you describe simply to us how each one keeps you safe and which one is better.
Okay, so first the disclaimer, because in the next few minutes we're going to piss off people on both sides. We're not going to go into the absolute specifics of how things are done or why things are done. We're going to talk about things from a very high level, compare the two ideologies rather than the ways in which securities are implemented. So that having been said, I hope that'll calm down some of the comments because I know we're going to get flamed on both. Oh, I quit.
Steven's leaving. See? We failed.
So let's start with Blackphone since that's where it all started, and to my BlackBerry friends out there, hang on, I'm going to give you your side.
I'm going to let you finish.
Blackphone is based on Android. Android is an open source operating system that is based on Linux. All of these things being open are essentially visible to anybody who wants to see them. You can look at the source code. That, a lot of people would say, is a security vulnerability. A lot of other people would say that is a security feature because it allows everyone to see everything and allows other people, when they say, hey, this could be a problem, to point that out or even fix the problem so that then we have a much more secure environment going forward. It's less about obscurity than it is about real security. Now, that having been said, there are still holes. Like I said before, there are holes in everything, and we're humans that are writing this stuff. We're going to keep finding them. We're going to keep fixing bugs. So let's just assume that that's a given. Moving over to BlackBerry, BlackBerry is a much more closed and proprietary environment. Their holes and their vulnerabilities, and yes, they do exist, are a lot more secret and they're a lot more obscure because you don't have the public and people who are experts in their area looking at the code and saying this is a problem.
Right?
Exactly.
Right.
Now there are some areas where that's not entirely true, so BlackBerry fans don't get all upset. But
you want X open source?
A little bit, kind of.
A little bit. Okay.
I will let the BlackBerry people go into that in detail, but the ideology is what I'm trying to get at. One is open, and one is more obscure. Security by obscurity is not security at all. It just means things are going to take longer to find out. It's part of what we had with the Heartblade error that was exploited on the web recently. That code was open, but it was written so obscurely nobody could understand it, and eventually the whole world came falling down when that vulnerability was discovered. Same thing happens all over the place, whether it's Windows, Mac, Linux, Unix, whatever the case may be.
I've realized
The
an
next
error
thing-
in my structuring of the show, Joe, not to cut you off, but I realized that I'm having you present both sides of the arguments while also constantly introducing you on this show as Joe Levi, the Android guy. But I trust you to remain fair and balanced, as they say. Please
But you
continue.
notice we changed the Pocketnow power user from the Android power user, so we're trying to
That's
get
true.
everybody
There's some
involved.
growth there.
So
true.
I am trying to be as respectful as I can to our BlackBerry friends because they are our friends. We're not us versus them, at least not on Pocketnow. We're
Not
all
in
in
this
the same
segment. In the
community.
next segment we will be, but yeah. Go ahead.
Well, okay, whatever. I'm all with them. BlackBerry forever, man. Right?
No, not not the fans. Sorry, but the devices.
okay.
So okay,
All right.
so what's next? So are they? Can these? I know you're going somewhere with it, but I sort of want to ask you a question. Like, can these two different security approaches coexist, or can they serve different audiences, or must one win over the other? Must one crush the other for us to have a truly secure smartphone?
Which question do you want me to answer? Because that was like 6.
Whichever one suits you better. I know I tend to do that. It's very annoying in interviews. I'm sorry.
I think I will get all of those. So let me just continue on here, and I think I'll answer that very well for you. In fact, I've prepared. So Android is very gauged towards the consumer, just like iPhone is gauged to the consumer, the individual. BlackBerry, on the other hand, is much more appropriate to the enterprise. And what you will see in most of their marketing materials is it is enterprise security that they're pushing and that they're publishing and that they're so proud of and they've got certifications for. Now, that's not to say an individual cannot use and take advantage of all of the security features that are included in BlackBerry, because they can. BlackBerry is just geared more towards the enterprise than it is towards the individual. That carries with it a huge level of confidence, for lack of a better word, in the security, because you've got people who are in the medical industry, who are in the financial industry, who are in the securities industry, and even in national governments that only can use BlackBerry because of all of the security that is involved now. Now,
Right.
That security is not necessarily security to the individual. That security is there to the company or to the government. An IT management staff can manage the security on those devices, which includes the information that gets from point A to point B. You can lock that down. One of the things that you really can't do from a third-party perspective on Blackphone. From a corporate or a government perspective, you need that level of control and that level of security, but at the individual level, that's not exactly there. If I want to send a message to my friend that I don't want my boss to know about, I really can't easily do that on BlackBerry. BlackBerry knows that, and they are doing their best to do what's called the Bring Your Own Device program, to separate out personal use from corporate use on the device. How well they've done that, I don't have an opinion yet, and everything I've read, the opinions are split. So they're
BlackBerry
trying to do
Bridge division software, right? Yeah, where they just separate the phone into two halves. Steven has something. What's up?
Yeah, I may be getting us a little off track here, but I've been under the impression that we're talking about two very different looks at security here. We're talking about security of the devices themselves and how easy it is to access files and secure areas of memory that you shouldn't be able to, versus security of the communications. And I don't think that Blackphone was really ever that interested. I mean, yeah, you want the device to be secure, but I feel like the whole selling point was that the information it's transmitting is secure from prying eyes. It's not leaking personal information about you. Whereas, yeah, in BlackBerry, and because all the enterprise stuff Joe was talking about, BlackBerry is secure within its own ecosystem, but I don't believe you see the same sort of end-to-end user encryption that you do on the Blackphone. I think it's like it's an apples and oranges situation almost.
Well, it
that
is.
was going to be my question, yeah.
And it's a very good one because, yes, it sounds like they're very separate. And to an extent they are, and we could go on and talk ad nauseum about them and write articles and articles about them. It all boils down to privacy and what security is, and to an extent that you cannot have one without the other. You can't have secure communications without a secure device and a secure infrastructure upon which to deliver it. And both of them are accomplishing these things differently. Blackphone
Very
going
differently.
towards the user-to-user encryption, especially with the what is it, the Spider Oak software, which is essentially Dropbox
Secure
encryption.
cloud management. Yeah, it's Dropbox with a UI from 1997, I should say. But yeah.
Yeah, but the concept is cloud storage that's secure and encrypted, and only you have access to it. Spider Oak doesn't even know what the contents of that stuff is. With communications, the people involved in that text or phone number, we both know what's going on in that conversation, but nobody else does. It's all encrypted, peer-to-peer, end-to-end encrypted, nothing else in the middle. So to what Stephen was saying, yes, security and privacy are being thrown around as if they are the same thing in both of these platforms, and they're not, but they're trying to accomplish the same things in different ways. And that's where the battle is happening. That's where they're butting heads. So to come back and wrap up your questions, Michael, yes, they can coexist. Yes, they should coexist. They're targeting different areas. I really, really hope that BlackBerry learns something from what Blackphone is doing and implements some of that in their platform. And similarly, I hope that Blackphone does the same thing and tries to get some of this corporate level of security involved as well, if they can do so without sacrificing the security of the user, the privacy of the user. So, very interesting debate, very hot topic. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody on either side too badly about it, describing
I think that's a reasonable conclusion. No, I think you're right. I think they could be complementary to one another quite easily, even though they're coming at these similar problems from completely different angles. So if I'm just to kind of sum it up, if I may, and you summed it up very well, Joe, but tell me if my sentence is true or false. Blackphone is the phone that you buy if you want your communications to be as secure as possible. You're from person to person, from you to another party. A BlackBerry, that's confusing, is a device you buy if you are a corporate administrator or you're a business that wants your communications to be secure from outside interference.
The only correction that I'd have on that, Michael, is on BlackBerry, it's not just communications, it's the device and the information on the device, the information that the device has access to, because it's an extension of what you can do at work, whether that's healthcare, government, whatever. So it's not just communications, it's information, and that's why they put such an emphasis in BlackBerry on device security, because you may carry around corporate or even state secrets on that device that if you lose that device, or if someone's able to obtain it from you through unfriendly means, you don't want the information on that device to be able to be accessed. And that's why BlackBerry users are rightly picking on Blackphone by saying the device may not be as secure as BlackBerry, but then again, we're not doing the same types of things on Blackphone as we are on BlackBerry. So
I like, it's as Stephen touched on a little bit. It's a lot of this is apples to oranges. These are different devices for different requirements. Stephen, you've wanted to say something for a few minutes.
You slipped up there when you were saying the names a moment ago, and there's this voice in the back of my head this whole time. I know this is a very serious discussion about security, privacy, big implications, but maybe are some of the BlackBerry users a little upset that Blackphone just sounds too much like BlackBerry, and it's doing that and doing a security thing, and they're trying to steal its thunder?
I'm sure there's a little bit of that overlap there. I'm sure there's a branding consideration at play here. But when secrecy is commonly referred to as black ops, I think you can call your phone to Blackphone and not necessarily have to sweat through a bunch of people being like, you stole that from BlackBerry. Like, no.
God, and they're both rectangles. Have you seen this?
I've noticed that much. Yes. Well, Joe. Thank you for that concise explanation of the technical issues here. And this is a different segment, but it's on the same topic. So I just kind of want to roll right into it. This is a segment called Tough Spot. And it's a segment about difficult choices. God, I really like that sound effect. This is typically a segment about choices that you don't want to be faced with making. Like You have to eat either a hot dog or a hamburger, but the bun is made of, rye bread. Which one do you choose, right?
Ew.
Yeah, isn't that gross?
Nothing wrong with rye.
No, rye bread is for the
wrong.
for the demons among us. But these are not necessarily horrible alternatives, but they are not exactly neither is what would be my first choice. So my question to you, gentlemen, and to the readers, if you want to comment, is this: if you had to carry a device for the remainder of the year as your daily driver, the rest of 2014, and your only choice was between a Blackphone BP1, the one we just reviewed, and a BlackBerry 10 device, and you can pick any BlackBerry 10 device, Z30, Z10, Q10, Q5. None of the speculated ones. You can't choose the Passport because we're not talking about that. What would you choose? And you must justify your answer. I know what my choice would be, but I want to hear from you, gentlemen. Does anybody have a burning desire to go first on Tough Spot?
Can none be an answer? Because I'd like to buy a phone from a company that's going to be in business next year.
Holy crap. Shots fired. Look at this guy. Joe ushered in an era of mutual understanding and, maybe this, maybe that. And Steven just comes in and is like, no, man, both these things suck.
Well,
Steven, you must pick one. These are the rules. This is why it's a tough spot. You can't just get out of it. You're stuck between a hard place and a granite, as they say.
I go with the Blackphone just because I think it's more interesting. I know very little about it because it's high-level stuff, but it's the kind of phone that I'd be interested in playing around with all of these secure communications features, the ones that appear to be a real pain in the ass to use. But that's the kind of thing I like to play around with. I mean, I was the kid who was just telling someone back in the 90s, I printed out cheap little 15-year-old business cards on my inkjet that had my PGP fingerprint on the bottom. Like, oh yeah, my friends are going to start sending me encrypted emails. Didn't happen, but I could have some fun with that device. Whereas BlackBerry, I don't do enterprise work, and I do like the keyboards. I will say that. But other than that, I think I'd get more for my money out of the Blackphone, especially over a 2-year period.
All right, solid answer and well argued. What about you, Joe?
Well, you know where I'm going to go with this.
Mm-hmm.
From a philosophical standpoint, I like the Blackphone a lot more than I like the BlackBerry. However, we're talking about the BP1, which made some hardware sacrifices to push it out and has kind of soured me. So I would like to just say, hey, BlackBerry has been out more. They've worked out more of the kinks. I'm going to go with the BlackBerry for the remainder of the year. And I'll take a look at the BP2 when it comes out.
Nice. That is a good call. Not the answer I was expecting, actually. I really thought you were going to go with the Blackphone. That's interesting. Another Ann in the Q&A says Blackphone and flash to a cyanogen ROM, which is a cheat of an answer. You are breaking the rules of Tough Spot, but we thank you for your contribution nevertheless. And my answer...
I've got to comment on that really fast,
Please,
Michael.
please.
The only reason that one would do that would be, I have no idea. Private OS is an awesome thing. I mean, don't get me wrong with that. It's an amazing addition onto what stock Android is. It does a lot of the same things that more recent versions of CyanogenMod do, in that you have this, I forget the name, app something. Anyway, it's that same app security where you can turn it on and off permissions that apps are using. And I love the way Blackphone is doing it, but CyanogenMod is doing something very similar. So by saying flash a CyanogenMod on Blackphone, no, don't do that. Flash a CyanogenMod on any other device and use that feature, and then get the Silent Circle and the Spider Oak and all of the other apps that come... Excuse me. This is the NSA. They're trying to shut me up. Get all of the other apps. Get the app suite that comes on Blackphone, buy them separately, and put them on that device. And then you can have, I don't want to say it this way, but a poor man's Blackphone on some trusted piece of hardware that's running CyanogenMod and this suite. So, not the other way around.
Yeah, well argued. And I think the idea of a Blackphone software suite on hardware that is impressive is actually quite nice to me. And that sounds like a sort of a cop out, but just like wait for the next generation. But no,
That wasn't
for
a
real.
good answer, man.
No. No. I don't mean to this question. It sounds like a cop out to like the Blackphone question is my point. Like wait for generation 2. That's sort of what we always say with the first gen device, but with Blackphone it's especially true because there's not much great I can say about the hardware. But the software suite is compelling, and I'd like to see it on a cool software, on a cool piece of hardware rather. My answer for this, for tough spot, would be the same as Joe's. I would carry a BlackBerry. The BlackBerry OS is excellent. I really like it. I like the way the inbox works. I like the way the peak works. I like the multiple cards. I like how stable it is. I like how fluid it generally is, and I like how it runs on the Q10, which is my favorite BlackBerry like ever.
Rocking the QWERTY.
Yeah, I mean, then you've got the physical hardware keyboard too, and the fact that you can run Android apps on it. Now, it's not a great solution, as we've talked about many times in the past, but at least it's a stopgap measure. And combine those offerings with ones from the Amazon App Store if you don't want to sideload stuff. It's a more versatile thing for me. And honestly, I've just been looking for an excuse to carry the Q10 for the rest of the year. So I sort of wish this was a binding segment of the podcast because I love my Q10. It's not even mine. It's BlackBerry's. I just never wanted to give it back, and we kept it for an after the buzz. And then I was like, "Do you guys want this back?" And then they didn't answer. And I'm like, "Well, okay, but I really like it, but I can't carry it." So anyway. I would like a Q10 with a bigger keyboard. I'd like a Dell Venue Pro with BlackBerry 10. I'd like some fish. I don't know. I'd
like some more seltzer?
I'd like some more seltzer. Yes. Like some more polar seltzer. What would you guys feel if I said something like, let's do listener mail?
People write in?
Mm-hmm.
We have people writing in?
Jules sounded the ringer right there. Thanks, Jules. Yeah, we got people writing in to podcast@pocketnow.com. I think it's a pretty cool thing. While we get squared away on that, I want to make sure that no one is writing in on the Q&A regarding the topic at hand. I would pick a BlackBerry 10 device, says Sunny Kaira. Yep, I think so, Kaura. I would pick a BlackBerry 10 device. This is because BlackBerry 10 devices have better specs, and I can apparently port Android apps on it. I feel like I just said something similar. You must be a smart individual. I agree with you. But Stephen, your answer is just as valid. Don't get all bent out of shape. Blackphone. Do you think those problems with the Blackphone can be solved through software updates? Asks Jaunty Gamau. Some of them can, yes, but I think that... What
problems are we talking about with the hardware here?
We're talking about inability to run more than a couple apps at once without app crashes, phone crashes, general software instability.
That sounds like software problems. Is there something wrong with the hardware?
There are
There
are a few software problems, but well, the only thing that's wrong with the hardware necessarily is that it's only packing a gig of RAM, which for Android is supposed to be built to handle that, but who knows what's been happening in the private OS, and and the optimization and stuff like that. And also, I have Joe or Stephen can instantly correct me about this, but I have very little faith in Tegra processors on mobile. They always end up disappointing me. Yeah, it's a Tegra 4i. And I just
my mom
don't
said
trust
if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So.
There you go. That's a good point, Joe. So we'll move on. We'll just say it's a Tegra 4i with a gig of RAM. And I can't leave anything alone. Blackphone did not have to go with did not have a choice. They had to go with the Tegra 4i because that was the only chip maker that would accommodate their peculiar needs. Apparently,
Qualcomm is not known for being very forthcoming with the source to its chips. So
right. They were apparently in talks with another chip maker, who I take to be Qualcomm, but that fell through because they couldn't get enough control over the design process.
Well, and I think that is a bigger story than anything else that we've been talking about here. Is that whoever that other one was, and I too assume that it was Qualcomm, wasn't secure enough to be used as the processor in the Blackphone.
Well, yeah, look at
reading between the lines. So
I don't know root with the Moto X. This attack on how Qualcomm was implementing this secure version of something in the ARM, something related to ARM processors, and it affected multiple phones because Qualcomm's using the same microcode and all these processors. And you were talking about, well, okay, you're not going to have the Blackphone, maybe run CyanogenMod on other hardware. This is something to consider. Is the hardware you're putting this on, is that going to be a secure platform to build off of?
Very good point.
Yeah. I wish I could elaborate more on that, but I just do not have any information.
I just don't care that much.
Also that. No, let's do some listener mail here. Thank you for writing in Q&As, and I'll stagger in. I'll mix in a couple more of the Q&As in between these pieces of mail. But why don't I kick us off with the first one here? I'm just kind of choosing willy-nilly. This is from Tristan, and he writes, "Hello, Pocketnow team. I was wondering if you guys know of any phones with great speakers besides the M8. No one ever says anything about phone speakers being good unless they are, of course, on the HTC One M8. So, also, how old do you have to be to work at Pocketnow?"
100.
You have to be old enough to make jokes about TV shows that are no longer on the air.
You guys like Airwolf, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Engine Hawk. Oh.
And Voyagers, not Star Trek Voyager, but Voyagers with the time-traveling duo of young kid and handsome hunk. Anyway. Keep up the great work, Tristan. Hey, Tristan, yeah, I got a phone for you. The Moto X has a great speakerphone, even though it's rear firing. It's quite loud. Motorola knows how to make a really good one. We could probably go around a couple rounds here.
HTC's wheelhouse. These Desires have the boom sound as well, right? The other one series.
Yep.
16.
Yeah, but I get the sense that we're not allowed to talk about HTC phones. This like what other ones? That
Hey! He just said the One M8, okay? The Desire 816.
True, I know.
That was awesome. I love that phone.
I'll tell you, the Sony Xperia Z2 is not in this club. It has front-firing speakers, but they are not loud and I don't really like this. One of the few things about that phone I don't like. What else?
Nexus 5 also is not.
Yeah, the Nexus 5 is
bottom firing.
Weak sauce nonsense.
Yep. Can we just change this listener mail to stuff that's not?
Speakerphones that suck. No, the Note 3 is a pretty loud speakerphone, as I recall, as is the S5. I must give credit where it's due. They're rear firing, but they're pretty loud. So there's another the loud-ass speakerphone. Any push-to-talk phone that still exists generally has a pretty loud
I think the take-home here is front-firing speakers good. Everything else, probably not.
Yeah, well,
just as a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, because there are a bunch of rear-firing speakers I just talked about, and they're plenty loud.
I'm not saying all the time. I'm saying in general, if it's a front-firing speaker, it's probably good, and if it's not, then it probably isn't.
And this may be passing the buck a little bit, but I feel like if you really want speaker performance, if that's something very important to you, well, one, it's probably not something you're going to be using all the time. I mean, most of phone interactions are just between you and the phone, in which case plug in your headphones just fine. But even entertain people, there are a million really good wireless Bluetooth speakers out there. We've reviewed several of them, I'm sure. A lot of options, different price points, and it's not the most convenient thing maybe, but if you're not using this sharing music with other people functionality every single day, maybe it's worth looking into. And you'll definitely get better sound than anything out there from a phone.
Yeah, but it's one more thing you got to carry. That's the downside.
Oh, phone call with BlackBerry natural sound. The difference is clear. Yes, that's right. I think the BlackBerry Q10 that I was talking about before has a pretty good speaker, as I recall. Or the Z30 as well. Yeah. Good call there, Jules. Who wants to read the next one? That was a good question.
I will read one.
Sweet. Oh, yeah. We answered the how old you have. You got to be old enough to make stupid jokes.
Jack McKenzie writes, "Hello, Pocketnow crew. I recently making the switch to the Moto X, mostly due to Michael's comments of it feeling like coming home. I'm writhing in ecstasy, although I haven't been experiencing the all-day battery life that most reviewers attest to, perhaps due to my abysmal Sprint coverage. And I've been looking into ways to conserve the battery without hindering usability. I encountered a discussion on changing from the Dalvik runtime to ART. Some swear it's a godsend, others have mixed results and say to wait for Android L. Have any of you switched to ART, and if so, what are your experiences on KitKat? Would you recommend it at this point? Thank you for being so awesome. Sincerely, Jack McKenzie." Oh, good thing we have Joe on the program this
I was going to say, you know what, Joe? You can head home. I'll take this one, all right? You just take off.
Sounds good. Hey, Jack, thanks for writing in.
Joe, bestow your knowledge upon us. I don't know what any of this stuff means.
Okay, first of all, I'm not going to answer the Art versus Dalvik right away, even though that's the meat of your question. Something else that you mentioned, Jack, is a little bit concerning to me, and that is your abysmal Sprint coverage. Anytime you have poor cellular coverage, whether that's data or voice or both, and I do want to make that distinction, your phone is freaking out. It is going out and trying to find a tower that it can talk to reliably, and especially if you are somewhere midway between 2 or 3 towers, it's constantly trying to find out which tower is better as you move across the house or even move across the room. It's talking to all these towers to figure out who should I use, and the further away you are from those towers, the more power it takes for you to get a signal out and back. So you are chewing up your power anytime you are in a low cellular signal area. A trick you may want to use is if you know you're in that area and you can't get a signal booster, whether it's a legitimate one from your carrier or a not quite legitimate one that you might be able to buy on some internet website that I'm not going to mention anywhere in it. We didn't talk about this.
Okay. If you already have an attic full of antennas, that's just...
There you go. Build a J-pole out of copper. Anyway, get that fixed. The secret is if you are in an area that's really, really bad, just turn it into airplane mode and then turn your Wi-Fi back on. That'll shut off your cellular radios, you'll save battery life, but you'll still be able to use your Wi-Fi to do all of your other stuff, and you will notice that your battery life will be greatly extended when you do that, if that's the scenario that you're in. Now to your question, Art versus Dalvik, unless you're using exposed modules and whatnot, absolutely go with Art. They're making lots of improvements to it. You're probably not going to say, oh my goodness, this is the best thing since sliced bread, but it's little things. Launch times will be faster on your apps. Apps will just seem a little bit more smooth, and because of the way that works, you're involving less of the processor to do just-in-time compiling. You've got ahead-of-time compiling that's done when you install the app and when you first boot up the phone from a cold boot. So all of that's being done ahead of time when you are more likely to have power plugged into a dedicated source, saving you from having to run through all of that processing power when you're running the app. It'll give you a bit more battery life. It'll be a bit smoother. It's not going to be the magic, the silver bullet that's going to save you, but it will help out, and I highly recommend that anybody go and do it. If you don't like it, you're out 10 minutes of time that you'll take to get frustrated with it and turn it off and go back.
I got to. That's a valuable block of time for me. I don't think I'm going to do this.
I know that because you can't even learn ADB on a Mac.
Damn, I did learn it. It just took a while. Shut up.
So Jack, that's the best I can answer that question for you. Give it a try. Let us know. You know what? Send me a tweet at Joe Levi and let me know how it worked out for you.
Damn. Getting the double plug on this. I'm going to start charging you for those, Joe. All right, this is our final piece of listener mail concerning the Galaxy Alpha. This is from Philip Mburu. Hi, team. Been a while since I wrote in. Love the new Hangout format, and I'd like to give a thumbs up to Jules for the great work. I agree. Jules, give yourself a round of applause.
He does great stuff.
He does great stuff. My question involves the Samsung Galaxy Alpha. Yeah, that thing is gorgeous. Full stop. Never been a Sammy fan, but wow, it looks great. The chamfered edges had me all nostalgic about my old M7. Anyway, do you think this device will outsell the Galaxy S5? Would you like to see an Android Silver version of this, or a GPE version? I know I would. If they have a stock Android version of this, goodbye Nexus 5. Cheers from Philip Mbiro from Nairobi. And sorry for the long email. No problem, Philip. It's a topical matter. Yes, I think it looks great. No, I don't think it'll outsell the Galaxy S5 because I don't think they're going to push it that hard. I think this is a little hobby project for them to see if they can compete at this size and spec level. And would I like to see an Android Silver GPE version? Yes, indeed I would. I think that would be the one that I would pick up. Boom. My answers. You have them. What does Steven think?
I don't think that it has a shot in hell of coming anywhere close to Galaxy S5 sales. It's a beautiful phone. I will agree with you on that. I also don't think it's going to take a prominent enough role in Samsung's stable of devices that we're going to see it get the GPE treatment or anything like that. I'm not really sure what the manufacturer is thinking, really, so far as how it fits in just yet. So I think it's going to be a minor device all around. But if this design continues, maybe we'll see Galaxy S6 will look like this, and then we would get the GP edition. So GP edition.
What about you, Joe? That's good observation, Stephen. I agree.
Yes, it looks beautiful. I am a fan of chamfered edges, especially when it comes to cases. They sit flush when you're doing that, so it's really nice. The whole device all around, I love the way it looks, and I would love to do it, and I would love to have a stock Android experience on it. That having been said, are we going to see a Google Play edition of it? We've only seen the latest or one step back flagship editions that get that treatment, so sadly I don't think so, but I would love it if we did. I'm trying to remember the new Google project that's going to...
Silver?
No, not L, the other one for...
Silver.
Is it Silver? Whatever. The one for emerging markets that it's like here.
Android One.
Yes, Android One experience. Yeah. I think we have more of a possibility to see something like that on the device than we do a Google Play edition or a Silver coming out. But I would love to see it. I think it's great. We're not going to see this outsell the Sammy 5. I'm just going to start calling it that from now on because I like the way it
sounds. The Sammy 5.
Sammy
5 alive.
You fast mofo.
So we're not going to see it outsell that, but what we are going to see is Samsung is going to look very closely at what people like about this device, how well it sells, what people don't like about the device. They're going to learn from that, and then they're going to start incorporating what they learn into future editions of the flagship. So it'll be a good thing all around.
Jules, I love you.
Jules has dropped in a photo of Johnny 5 into the chat. We need to put a Samsung logo on that.
Why can't we have that be the movie to watch for this week?
Because we're already watching Antitrust, or we're not. But I'm going to tweet about it later. I really do want to watch. I really do want to have a live watching session. Before we go, there are a couple Q&A questions that have been upvoted so hard that we cannot help to ignore them. Guys, we get like hundreds of Q&As. I didn't realize how popular Q&A was. Unfortunately, everyone, the interface for Q&A doesn't work consistently. Shocker. And we can't drill all the way down to the bottom of the list, so a lot of them just get lost thanks to Google's own sort of mismanagement. So I'm really sorry if you're sending in some great questions and they're just not making it. But if I want a stock Android experience, asks Matthew, what phone should I get that works with Verizon? I really want the Nexus 6, but I don't know if it'll ever work for Verizon. This is a toughie, isn't it, dude?
I feel like the X Plus One might be your best upcoming option. It's not stock, but close enough.
I agree, and the ways in which it's not going to be stock, if it's anything like the Moto X, there are going to be great ways that you will miss if you don't have it. So the Moto X Plus One is probably a really solid bet there.
Okay, hold out for the Nexus 6. If you don't need to pull the trigger right away, hold out for that because the Nexus 7, albeit not a phone, Google worked very closely with them with Verizon to get the device certified and available on the Verizon network. So yes, you can use your Nexus 7 on Verizon, not as a phone, but as a tablet because it's not a phone.
What are we going to call the 2015 Nexus phone?
I know it's so confusing.
Yeah, we're backing ourselves into a corner here, certainly.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm not going to go into anyway. I've got a funny story about that we're not going to talk about. The reason that I say hang out and wait is because Verizon is making the move to switch to voice over LTE and are starting to talk about having LTE only devices. If that is the case, and we're sure that the Nexus 6 phone will have LTE, it then becomes possible that you would have LTE for Verizon and do voice over LTE on that device. It's a possibility. I haven't heard anything about it. This is just deduction, but there you go.
Just got some email on what I was hoping was a related thing, but it is not. In fact, that's some stuff we can't talk about. I want that frog in Steven's room, says Matthew Nichols. I agree with you. What is with the frog, Steven?
I don't know. It's a frog. It came from KB Toy Stores in like 2001.
Excellent.
Can't help you there. Its name is William Hurt, the constipated frog, if that helps.
And it does help. This is we're learning all kinds of new
That poor
things here.
frog.
There's a few questions actually that we've already addressed it earlier in the show, folks. So if you are just joining us, don't forget to go back and listen to the high quality version once Jules is done cutting it together in his professional manner. You know what I mean?
Running the board.
Running the board. And Dante has a great question. Michael Fisher, I know you're pretty. The question just moved. This is the problem. No, this isn't. I can't believe. This is what I'm talking about, guys. UI is horrible. I know you're pretty, Mr. Fisher, but is there any way you could drop the resolution and up the frame rate on your webcam? Yeah, that would be awesome. I don't think it's a camera issue, but I welcome any input whatsoever. I've been trying to figure this out.
Man, why are you widescreen? Neither.
I am widescreen.
Are you? I get cut off. I see Chael Fisher.
Is that right?
Mm.
Does Joe see the same?
No, I see Michael Fisher in all your beauty.
It's Hangouts being completely different for everyone.
Totes widescreen, but yeah,
consistent experience.
Right, exactly. What do you think Android L will look like in OEM skins? Oliver Harris, this one got voted up quite a bit. I don't, this is such a, who knows, right?
This is easy, Michael. Go and look at our coverage of the the Padphone X. That's what it's going to look like.
Oh, what, the Padphone X?
Yeah. Look at the UI for the Padphone X. That's what we're going to see. It's very, very subtle differences, but the whole UI looks like stock Android until you get into the parts that don't, and they just put a nice little polish and design onto it. And if you didn't know any better, you'd think that you were looking at stock UI experience. So no, it's not Android L, but it looks stock Android. Apply that same methodology, that same thought process to Android L, and you'll kind of see where I'm going with it. But absolutely, go and look at the coverage that we've got for the Padphone X.
Joe, that's good advice. I like that a lot. Finally, from Sabi Kurhana, how does NDA work? MKBHD gave a spoiler that something big is coming. I'm not asking about it, but process, if you are allowed to answer.
Let me talk to that one first. I got an email from Michael Fisher saying, Joe, I need your help with this, but I can't tell you about it because it's under NDA. So he had to very cryptically, even though we're on the same team, he's like, I don't know if it covers just me or the whole team, but I don't want to make any risk anything.
That was a weird case.
Yes.
Normally an NDA covers the whole team, but that was a strange case, and I was so tired I couldn't think. How does NDA works like this, Sabby? I can't talk about anything that I mean, we can speculate all day and night, but MKBHD covers a lot of stuff, man. He covers like cars and stuff. I don't know what he has an NDA on. We're always working with something weird. So, Steven?
I don't know, man. NDAs are very troublesome because sometimes you know things that you shouldn't know and have to perform as if you don't know them, and
each one is different.
Yeah.
It's a big pain, but it is a pain that I am happy to put up with in exchange for the wonder of my day job, the job I share with all of you fine gentlemen.
Early access comes with its costs.
It does. Steven's going to have some cool stuff for us. We're going to have a new segment from Steven at some point soon, folks. I don't even know what it is yet. That's under NDA.
Neither do I, but it'll come.
Can we call it the Constipated Frog?
We can't. On a different podcast, we could. If we could.
What if frog was an acronym for something smartphone related?
I think that we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for content. I think that it's about time for us to kick off our weekends, if you gentlemen are amenable to that kind of thing.
Nice. Now that I finish up my shift here, I'm just going to head straight to the beach.
I don't know if I said
Michael's
that.
permission. No, that's what I heard, and you guys are all witnesses. So,
well, let's get out of here before I say anything else.
From the beach, Steven.
Stupid.
What, Joe?
How are you doing a product review from the beach?
Not.
You got to get one of those waterproof phones.
It will be
fun. Thank you for joining us live, folks. Everybody in the live audience, I want to tell everyone out there that our transition track is called Radiation. It's a ringtone on some Android smartphones. It's also a full-length song by Ali Spagnola, an artist with millions of fans around the world. Give her 1,000,001. Visit her YouTube channel, youtube.com/AliSpags, and her website, at elliespagnola.com. Both of them linked in the description below. What's up, Steven?
Should we mention our own YouTube milestone?
We should mention our own YouTube milestone. 700,000 subscribers.
Woo-hoo!
Hot damn. I do like saying that. You're right, Steven. Good call. Congratulations to everybody. Thank you, everyone out there, for watching our videos, keeping us bolstered in the numbers there. And thanks, while we're giving thank yous, thanks to Joe Levi for an informative look at Blackphone versus BlackBerry. Hopefully someone out there learned something. I know I certainly did.
And please, no death threats, because, no, that wouldn't be cool.
That would not be cool, you're right. I didn't write an outro script, so let's just go ahead and wing it. That's going to do it for this episode of the Pocketnow Weekly, which was produced by Jules Wong, a.k.a. Green.0 on Twitter. Send your listener mail to podcast@pocketnow.com and find We Hosts on Twitter. Taylor leaves early from his tweets just the way he leaves early from podcasts at Casper Tech. Stephen never posts at all, as usual, at Stephen Schenk. And I am very self-involved at Captain Two Phones. Joe Levi is at Joe Levi. And if you follow him, you could learn something. You can also follow Pocket Now on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google+. And if you enjoy the podcast, you can help us grow our audience, which we would appreciate. Leave us a review, a 5-star review, whatever sequence of numbers or stars is the best. We would appreciate it. And as always, we thank you so much for listening. We thank our sponsor, Swappa.com. And we'll be back with more mobile tech talk next week. I'm going to let that play out. That's kind of nice.
Dance party.
You guys want to have like newsroom talk, like muted though? We're like,
Yeah, I need some papers I can shuffle here.
yeah, and we have like the overhead light gets turned off, so it's just kind of like, yeah. Oh no, there's
Oh,
Just
that's
throw my pencil Letterman style.
yeah.
Was it Letterman? No.
Yeah.
An update? I don't know. Somebody
Nah.
can pencil.
Where's my I can't get the faux studio light going on.
It's
I don't
awesome.
know.
Pictures in the dark, so we just see his little name tag down at the bottom.
It's like holy contrast.
Well, that didn't go as I thought it might.
Should this still be live?